we tried to have a meeting to persuade him not to go, but that was never going to happen. And he said, no, I'm going, and I'm going now. And I was quite devastated.
What would you do if your best friend, someone you'd known since the age of 6, suddenly walked away from everything you'd built together? Allan Clarke was the voice of the Hollies, and alongside childhood friend Graham Nash, he helped turn the band into a global force, hit after hit on both sides of the Atlantic. But then, seemingly out of nowhere, Graham left it all behind to form Crosby, Stills and Nash. In this clip from my full interview with Allan, we dive into the emotional story of Graham's departure, how Allan found out and how it affected him personally, but also how the band survived one of its biggest turning points, going on to have many more big hits. I'm Paul Stevenson from VRP Rocks, and this is Allan Clarke from the Hollies. Despite the success of the band, Graham was hooked by the West Coast of America, really, wasn't he, at this stage? And he decided to leave the band. I mean, how did you feel? Because you, like we said, you'd been friends since the age of 6. I mean, how did it feel when he decided to leave? And was it something that you could foresee coming?
No, I didn't see it coming at all until much later on. And I was actually stopped in the street by a friend and said, did you know that Graham's forming a group in America?
All right.
And I didn't know. Graham does say that he left a few clues along the way, but you don't think about that thing happening, you know, when you've been together for that length of time. There was a lot of things happening in America. We went over to America, and when we got to Los Angeles, we were doing a gig at the Whiskey Go-Go. And everybody was there, you know. And when I mean everybody, whoever they could get in that was famous, they got in. And we did a great show. And after that, I think Graham met up with Crosby, Stills, Crosby, Stills. I don't think Neil was there. No, but they came back to the Beverly Comstock where we were staying. And I was in a suite with Graham, so I was really tired. To be honest, I wasn't interested. You know, they were just going to do a bit of jamming, and that was it. And I think that's where the sound was formed. I think that's what Graham fell in love with. He fell in love with the sound. Now, before that, we made an album called Butterfly, which was an album which Graham wanted to take further. Somewhere which we didn't know about, and some of the songs he sang on his own with his own harmonies, and the album was okay, but I think Graham was trying to do something more other than the Hollies were capable of by doing the thing on his own. I thought that was a bit strange, but you know, sometimes you say, well, let people have their way and get it out of their system and see what happens. But it went a bit further than that, you see. And I think the next time that we went to Los Angeles, Mama Cass was on the scene. Graham had made friends with Mama Cass, and he'd been in the recording studio with her. And I can only think about what happened now by knowing the truth and the people that were around at that particular time, that Graham was actually doing things with other people. But in my mind, I never thought he was going to do it with the in mind to leave. Anyway, when I found out, I went to him and said, is this true? And he said, well, unfortunately, it is. Obviously, the rest of the boys were involved, and we tried to have a meeting to persuade him not to go, but that was never going to happen. And he said, no, I'm going, and I'm going now. And I was quite devastated in a way, thinking about, well, what do I do now then? I've lost my best mate. I've lost the guy who sang harmony with. We were famous as you know, doing that. What do I do? For the weeks after that, I was, you know, I couldn't really care about anything, to be honest. I was really down. And then one day he just said to me, oh, hey, I was the lead singer of that. I'm the lead singer. So that, I had something in this group. So maybe we'll go out and we'll find somebody who sings just like Graham. Terry Sylvester came along, and I did a few things with him, and we blended.
Yeah,
not in a friendship kind of way to start off with, but his voice. When I started singing, he jumped in. He must have done his homework somewhere, but I don't care about that. He sounded great. I thought, wow, okay, let's go in the studios. We were doing a Bob Dylan album at that particular time. He was on the Bob Dylan album. At the same time, we recorded Sorry Suzanne, which was just like going back to like Carrie Ann and Jennifer Eccles, and this one, thinking, well, it's a pop song. That's what we're known for. We tried it that way. It didn't work. So let's just go back to that and see what happens. And it was a top 10 hit straight away. Well, it still took me a while to forget what Graham did, because I don't think that he thought about what would happen to me when he left me. Because I may not have ever found Terry Sylvester. You know what I mean? It might not have happened that way. And I hate to think of what I would have turned out to be maybe in those years. I probably could have gone out as a solo singer, but I've always needed guys around me because we've always been close knit. Well, I didn't go that way, and later on, we actually made some really brilliant records, which even Graham said on the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame DVD, not the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, it was the British invasion that we did, a documentary type thing. Him saying that how dare they have a hit up to number ones after I left? How dare they? He was a bit surprised, more than surprised, that actually we had more than 2 hits. I think we had 4 or 5 or 6 after he left, which I think is about 6 more than he did. I'd forgotten all that had gone in the past. I was successful with the rest of the Hollies, and my life was really good. So we carried on the last hit we had was The Air That I Breathe. Yeah. And, we were doing good tours. We were going out and doing tours. We became a touring band like most people did. Because people loved us, they wanted to see us, so we did it. I suppose if we hadn't got full bookings everywhere we went, we'd have given up. Mm-hmm. It was a lifestyle that came. Yeah. And the years went by, and He Ain't Heavy was a hit again in 1989, I think. You would have thought that happened from a Miller Lite advert. Good God. It's a spiritual song. It's not for selling beer. But, they just carried on after that even more because of that, that advert in a sorry way, really. Yeah. Until actually my voice gave out. Yeah. And well, my story has been what we've been talking about from then on.